Who is SMU? Like, who are they? Clemson's playing them in the ACC Championship this coming Saturday, 8 o'clock, I believe on ABC, if my memory serves me correct, and SMU's a 2.5-point favorite. Who are they? We really know nothing about them here in Clemson. Why? Well, this is their first year in the conference, and we're just going to dive in. But first, welcome to the channel. I'm Brian. I'm glad you are here. It's a beautiful Monday morning in the upstate of South Carolina. It is cold. It has been cold over the past few nights. It's got down into the 20s. So for anyone who's watching who's like, well, it's negative so on here, so and so, we're freezing all the time. Okay, great. Good for you. It's not that way here unless it gets to winter. Remember, in the South, especially in the upstate of South Carolina, we have like, I don't know, 2 seasons. We have summer and winter, and this weird little thing that happens in between them, and it's not quite fall or spring. It's odd. But anyway, it's been crazy here, and I'm still freezing. So anyway, if you like what I'm doing other than talking about the weather, I'm an independent. I hope you will subscribe. I've said this over the past few videos. I said that I've looked at my analytics, and there's a ton of you. I'm talking about tens of thousands of you. I'm not exaggerating. Who watches me? And some of you watch me all the time, and you've never subscribed. So I'm just going to ask you, if you like what I'm doing, if you like that I'm an independent. I even had some of you say, you know what, I subscribe to you. I don't agree with you all the time, but I like that you're just being passionate and honest. If you like that sort of thing, I hope you'll subscribe. Remember, it is free, so it's not costing you anything. I do appreciate it. I'm going to dive into the comment section in just a second, but just so I can pay attention, because I have the attention span of a rabid squirrel, I am going to turn the comment section off for just a moment so I can focus, but I will get there in just a second. SMU joined the ACC this year. This is their first year in the Atlantic Coast Conference, and they joined California as well as Stanford in the ACC this season. And Rhett Lashlee, in his third year at SMU, has done a pretty doggone good job now. In his first year, I can't remember the exact record. I had it pulled up here just a second ago. But in his first year, it was 2022, he was 7-6, 5-3 in the conference. Now, they're out of the American Athletic Conference. They were there in the Athletic American Conference, and now they're in the ACC. Last year, they were 11-3, 8-0 in conference. They lost their bowl game. And then this year, they're 11-1 with their only loss to BYU. I'll go over their schedule in just a second, but they're 8-0 in the conference. So this guy, he's done a pretty doggone good job. Rhett Lashlee was the offensive coordinator for Miami back in 2021 and 2022. He was the OC and the quarterback coach. If you remember back then, they had D'Eriq King, who had come over from, I believe, Houston. The guy had a bunch of yardage. He was more of a running quarterback than a passing quarterback, but he could throw the ball. But he was the smaller body quarterback, kind of like Joe Hamilton out of Georgia Tech in the early 2000s, late 90s. And they came to Clemson during that crazy 2020 season, and I want to say they were undefeated coming in to Death Valley. And Clemson beat them pretty bad, but that was not a bad offense that they had. It was just, you needed more studs, but he was the one who was commanding that offense. So Rhett Lashlee is very well known as an offensive mind. He was an offensive coordinator. I mean, good grief, he's been an offensive coordinator going all the way back to Samford. He was at Samford as the OC and quarterbacks coach. And moving forward, he was the OC and quarterbacks coach at all these schools. I just don't want to keep saying that over and over. But he was at Samford, Arkansas State, Auburn, UConn, SMU back in 18 and 19, Miami in 20 and 21, and now he's the head coach. This is his first head coaching gig at SMU, and he's done a really, really good job. So when you look at SMU, you can't help but think about the death penalty that their program received back in the 80s. Basically, a lot of what they're doing now, and I don't know all the details of it and really don't care to this point, at this point, but SMU was doing a lot of things back then that people are doing now to a point. So, it is what it is. But SMU, and again, I just want to make this very clear. I don't know all the details. So if it got something grim went on there, I don't know about it. So it just seems to me, from what I've heard, SMU was just doing what everybody now does today, and even people were doing back then. They just didn't own up to it. So anyway, but SMU, they started back their football team a while ago, and now they're here. First year in the ACC, and they're in the conference championship game in Charlotte. Now, we know that Clemson won the ACC championship 2 seasons ago, and a young man named Cade Klubnik, a true freshman, had to come in and fix some things. In fact, you talk about throwing a guy to the Wolves. That season, he really didn't see as much playing time as you would normally see to be thrown into an ACC championship game to lead your team to victory, but he did that. So Clemson, they've won ACC championships in this format multiple times. SMU, this is their first time on the big stage. So let's talk about some of the stats, some of the things that you can kind of learn quickly by the statistics concerning SMU football. Right now, they're number 21 in total offense. Total offense overall, they're number 21. They're number 31 in passing offense and number 48 in rushing offense overall. Now, when you get to their defense, they're number 28 total defense. They allow, this is not a good number at all, but they're number 85 in passing yards allowed. Here's the strength of their defense. They're number 4. They're the 4th ranked rush defense in the country. So they get stingy up front. You're just not going to run all over them. They do their thing, but you can pass on them. And being ranked number 85 in passing yards allowed says you can pass on them. But running is kind of a different story. So total offense, number 21 overall. Total defense, number 28. So you can understand why the team is where they're at right now. You can understand why they're definitely contending in the ACC. Let's take a look at their schedule, okay? Now, this is where some people get irritated about strength of schedule. We had Lane Kiffin making his comments a couple of weeks ago, or not even a couple of weeks ago, earlier last week about, even verbatim calling out Clemson, saying, hey, when you compare them to an Alabama, I mean, come on, y'all. So if he's going to say that about Clemson, he'd definitely say that about SMU. So let's take a look at their schedule. SMU played Nevada in the very first game of the season. They won 29-24. I remember watching some of that game. SMU was having some problems. Obviously, they got it worked out as the season went on, but I remember that was a much closer game than what a lot of people thought. And so SMU suffered some street cred after that game. The next game they played at Houston Christian, beat the crap out of them. Then they played BYU, and they lost this game 18-15. BYU went on to become like number 7 in the country. They were undefeated, and then they lost 2 games in a row and lost a lot of their luster. They're not in the Big 12 Conference Championship. Of course, that's Iowa State and Arizona State. That's another video, another time, and that will be coming this week unless, something happens. But they lost to BYU by 3 points. And BYU is one of those teams. They can play you well. They can come in and upset some teams. But at the same time, just there's some questions with continuity there. So that week they got the best of SMU. You kind of wonder if SMU played BYU later in the season, if that game would have been a little different. I mean, it definitely could have because SMU lost by only 3 points. Next up, they played TCU and beat them 66-42. So they put up a lot of points. Did give up a lot of points, but they put up a lot of points. Next, they played Florida State. And in the preseason, this looked like a really good game. Obviously, we know what happened to the Seminoles, but they beat them 42-16. And to me, I think that was the official game that Florida State realized we're done for the season. Like we're officially done. There was nothing to really play for after that moment because Florida State had lost games. Now, granted, BC beat them really commandingly, but other than that, a lot of their games had been kind of closer. Florida State got railed in this game, and to me, I think that was the official ending to their season. Now, here's a game they played. SMU played at Louisville, and here's a common matchup between Clemson and SMU, of course, Florida State is one. Clemson played Florida State. SMU played Florida State. SMU played Louisville. Clemson played Louisville. Here's the difference. SMU beat Louisville at Louisville 34-27. 34-27. So the Tigers lost by double digits to them at home at night. Louisville host SMU, and the Mustangs walks away with a win. So you have that. So let's take a look at Stanford. Both Clemson and SMU played Stanford. Both teams beat Stanford by about the same score. SMU beat them 40-10. Duke and SMU got together in Durham. They beat Duke by 1 point. Now, granted, this Duke team just won their 9th football game. They're 9-3 on the season. This would have been win number 10 for them. So I know that they're not playing some crazy good schedule up there, but Duke could have been a 10-win season. SMU held on there and won 28-27. Both teams played Pitt. SMU beat Pitt by 23 points. Now, if my memory serves me correct, I'm not just going to keep flipping back and forth here, but from what I can remember, this was the first loss of the season for Pittsburgh. The first loss of the season, I want to say, was to SMU. In fact, I'm going to lie. I'm not lying purposely, but yeah, SMU was Pittsburgh's first loss of the season. And a lot of people really didn't believe in Pittsburgh, and they were like, hey, if they'll go out and beat SMU, maybe we'll start believing. But they didn't. In fact, they beat Pittsburgh by 23 points. Clemson played Pittsburgh, went down to the wire. Clemson blew a 10-point lead. Cade Klubnik with the incredible 50-yard touchdown run and won the game. So there's another common opponent. They both won against, but SMU had a more commanding victory. They played Boston College and won 38-28. They played at Virginia. Both teams played Virginia. One was at home, one was at Virginia. They took care of Virginia 33-7. They held them to only 7 points. Clemson gave up 30-something points to Virginia. They played California in their last game of the year. They didn't play around with them. They put them away 38-6. They were off this weekend because, well, they had completed their season, and then they play Clemson in Charlotte. So we have Florida State, Louisville, Stanford, Pitt, and Virginia, all common opponents that both teams had played coming into this game. And folks, I just want to tell you, just being perfectly unbiased, that is the dumbest statement. I'm going to try to never say that again. Don't hold me to it. I'm going to try not to. That was bad. Y'all should make fun of me, please, for saying that. That's weird. But to be unbiased, SMU beat the teams that Clemson played worse, the same opponents that they both shared, those 5 opponents, worse than what Clemson did. Now, we could pause here and say, well, when Clemson comes to town, they're still operating off of being an elite football team or having the idea that they're elite. I don't believe Clemson's elite right now. And I'm not going down that road right now. So I know some of you are already rolling your eyes going, here we go with the pessimistic talk. Can't you be happy? I get it. But what I'm saying, listen to me, is the stats are not lying. This is just me barfing up the stats. Don't kill the messenger. Clemson beat Florida State, 29-13? This is right off the top of my head. SMU beat them 42-16. Clemson lost to Louisville by double digits. They beat Louisville at Louisville. About the same score at Stanford with the Stanford game. Okay? Clemson got out by the skin of their teeth against a second-string quarterback at Pittsburgh. SMU beat them by 23 points. You have Virginia. Virginia was at Death Valley, and we let them back in the game. I know some of you are going to say, well, that's because Dabo was taking it easy on Tony. Okay, have that. You can believe that. I'm not going to argue with it. Argue with you over that. I can't speak, y'all. But every common opponent that Clemson and SMU has coming into this game, SMU beat them worse. And so that's something that we can all step back and look at and say, okay, who are they, what are they, etc. So that's a pretty good idea. So let me see. I'm going to get in here. I'm going to pause right here. There's 87 of you. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you'll subscribe. It's free. Let me get in the comment section. I'm going to blast through this. Parker Henderson, my old buddy. I talked to your brother yesterday. I did. We broke down the Clemson game. He literally FaceTimed me, and we were breaking down plays. It was crazy. Missed you. In fact, I was going to text you yesterday, but, well, SMU is able to use that old money now, and it's showing, I believe, we get beat, but I hope we don't. Parker Henderson, thanks for supporting the channel. Thank you for being a friend. Boo, 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 boo. I'll get a copyright strike just for doing that. That's right, folks. They're that strict. But it was worth it. Thanks for supporting the channel. You see that symbol beside Parker's name? That means he supports on a monthly basis. Thanks, bud. I really do appreciate it. James Hathcock. Y'all should beat SMU. If not, fire everyone. Go Cox. He is a big Gamecock fan who supports the channel. So, James Hathcock, I see that symbol beside your name. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for supporting on a monthly basis. Let me see. Got some people in here insulting me. That's fantastic. How many players will opt out of the bowl game for the NFL? Who knows? Come on, Clint, perfectly unbiased. Clemson is definitely not elite. Preach on. SMU is a 2.5-point favorite. You're right. Should Clemson put Dabo in as GM of the football team and look for a new head coach? That's a big question. That's a big question. But that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen for a lot of reasons, But I know that there was somebody yesterday who became the general manager of the football team, and my son told me. I can't remember who it is, but it kind of shocked me. Anyway, if we beat SMU, then we actually beat a good team. Yeah. Do you think Dabo will be driven to make changes for next season if we beat SMU and get into the playoffs, or will he use it to continue to be stubborn? That's the main concern a lot of people have. Is that if Clemson gets into the college football playoff after, they got into the ACC championship because someone lost. You're still in. And there's a lot of you. You're still happy that they're in the ACC championship. I get it. I understand. There's even a part of me that's like, good, maybe they'll win it. But there's a part of me that asks me, what is going to be the long-term effects of the program, because you found success by basically getting lucky, and normally that doesn't work well for the long term. How is it that Clemson didn't even offer the runner up to the Mr. Football? Sorry, I'm still ticked off. Mark, man, we didn't. I don't think that we offered Lenore Sellers. It's crazy. SMU is paying players back in the day, so this NIL game is perfect for them. That's hilarious. Let me see. Still Gamble, my old buddy, 38-24, Clemson over SMU. Yeah, anybody knows this reference, SMU? Bobby Durkins. Talking about Clemson's play in SMU. Bobby, I've been watching you for years. I find you entertaining. A jerk, yes. Funny, yes. Has Carolina fans called you Bobby? They've called me some very questionable names. Steve, I see in here you said that I find you to be repulsive and very rude, and yet I can't turn away. Tell your alter personality, Bobby, that SC has enjoyed your rants. Thank you, Steve Roper. There's a lot of people who tell me all the time. They even meet me in person and go, you know what, I don't agree with you, but I like your honesty. You know why, folks? And I'm about to go back into the game. There's 90 of you in here. I'm glad you're in here. And I hope you've subscribed. But a lot of people are tired of being lied to. A lot of people are tired of, they like reading the articles or watching some show or YouTube personality tell them that everything's going to be okay and everything's going to be fine. And then Saturday happens. And you're like, hold on. Why didn't we know that was coming? And so, hey, look, I wish Saturday hadn't happened, but I just try to call it as I see it, and if I make mistakes, and I do, I try to own up to it. So Anyway, I appreciate the comments. Yes. Andrew Luck became the GM at Stanford. Last comment before I go back into this. Truett Graves. Truett, you were just going scorched earth, my friend. I'm sick and tired of telling y'all Dabo has ruined his own program by giving jobs to ex-players and other unqualified coaches. Goodwin has to go immediately, and Riley can get ready to go too. There's a lot of people who's believing what you're saying. I have been questioning the hires for a very, very, very long time. Not just at DC and OC. I really haven't questioned DC that much. I know a lot of people's mad at Wes, and I'm getting frustrated. I'm really frustrated now. But to be transparent, a lot of what you said is something that I've talked about a lot. And Truett, I think that's why you watch me too. It's because I've been questioning the coaching hires for many, many years now since that national championship, and they've tried to replace guys who left. And it just, I understand what Swinney's trying to do. I understand the loyalty. I understand him trying to give the chance to some guys, but I know what you're saying. All right, let's dive back into this. Let's talk about some of the leaders on the SMU football team. I got kind of long-winded here. I always get long-winded. I'm sorry. If you're an SMU fan, I get long-winded, and I'm sorry. Their quarterback is Kevin Jennings. Kevin Jennings, good grief, is 6 feet tall, about 190 pounds. He's a sophomore. He's out of Texas. This guy is throwing for 2,746 yards, 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Now, he can play. He's one of those guys, he can play. And to do what he's doing, and he's just a sophomore, and I want to say that he came in for another quarterback. I don't know if Preston Stone got injured or what happened there. I need to look at the injury report. I think he just replaced him. But Kevin Jennings can play football, and the guy has a lot of good ability. The guy's rushed for 344 yards and 4 touchdowns. He has a 59-yard long touchdown run. So that says the guy can move. Now, is he Lenora Sellers, where he's 6'3", 240+ pounds, and he's breaking tackles that include Peter Woods and T.J. Parker? We won't know until this week. Hopefully not. Hopefully not for us Clemson fans. Let's talk about their running back, Brashard Smith. Now, he replaced Jalen Knighton. I want to say Jalen Knighton was injured. I want to say he messed up his knee, and because he was like the premier back coming in. But if my memory serves me correct, he got injured. I do see him on the injury report, but I believe that's what replaced him. But this Brashard Smith, this guy has rushed for 1,157 yards. So when you look at his ability, his longest run was 71 yards, so he can take it to the house. 14 touchdowns on the ground. Listen to this. He's averaging 6 yards per carry. He can play football. He can play football. Let's talk about their wide receivers. Roderick Daniels. Roderick Daniels has over 500 yards receiving. He has 2 touchdowns. Let me see. Who else? Keyshawn Smith, 499 yards receiving, 5 touchdowns. Jordan Hudson, 363 yards, 5 touchdowns. R.J. Maryland, their tight end, 4 touchdowns with 359 receiving. Moochie Dixon, 351 yards receiving, 1 touchdown. Jake Bailey, who I believe is injured. Let me look at this real quick. Yes, I don't know how long he's going to be out, but he is he has 1 touchdown, 275. I think R.J. Maryland, is he out for the season? Yeah, he's out. He's been out for a while, so he's not playing unless a miracle happens. If you go to the defensive side of the ball, their leading tackler is Kobe Wilson. This guy has 95 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 interceptions. He's one of those guys, he gets around. He has 1 touchdown on the season. They have another guy that I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his name. He has 91 tackles, half a sack, 3 interceptions. Go on down. They have Isaiah Smith. Isaiah Smith is a really, really talented guy. He has 6.5 sacks on the season. Jafari Harvey has 6.5 sacks on the season. Clemson just got finished playing South Carolina, who now has, I think, 40 sacks on the season because they got to Klubnik, I think, one time and actually brought him down. But this team is pretty close. They have 37 sacks on the season. In fact, I'm going to check that while we're here live, because South Carolina was ranked number 3 last week. Let me see. SMU is tied at number 11 with 37 sacks on the season. So they're tied with Colorado for sacks on the season. South Carolina was tied at number 3. They have 40 sacks on the season. Coming into the Clemson game, they had 39. So anyway, this team's going to come out and try to put some pressure on you. Let's talk a little bit more about their team. Let's talk about the schedule. Okay, this is where, if I'm an SMU fan, I'm like, bro, who do you think you are talking about our schedule? Because Clemson anytime Clemson plays a good team, they lose. The only time that Clemson looks really, really good, see, I'm saying it for you, SMU fans. When Clemson plays a good team, they lose. When they play a bad team, they run up the score. So who are you, Brian, to run your mouth about our schedule? I agree. I agree about Clemson, but I'm still going to talk about your schedule. Playing Nevada and Houston Christian, can't blame you for getting those games under your belt. You struggle with Nevada, but that was a game one. Blowing out TCU looks good. Blowing out Florida State looks good. Winning against Louisville looks good. Stanford, you blew them out. Struggling with Duke, we can give you a pass. Beating the crap out of Pitt looks really, really good. I can't say that your schedule is just terrible. But like Clemson, I can look at Clemson and say, you played Georgia, you got your head beat in. You played Louisville, you lost. You played one of the hottest teams in college football and just lost by 3 points. It was a rivalry game, but you just lost by 3 points. The thing I look at with SMU is that the more and more I dive into their schedule and I compare between teams, I'm not looking at strength of schedule, rank, and so on. I'm talking about just Clemson versus SMU. SMU, when they played like talent, they did better against them than Clemson did. That's point blank. But they have not played, even with the win over Louisville, and Clemson lost to them. You got that. I just look at this. I look at this schedule and I ask, did they play anyone elite? Clemson did. Clemson played Georgia, got their head ripped off. Clemson played South Carolina, which arguably, there's a lot of people arguing that they should be in the college football playoff. I don't see that type of game on this schedule. BYU's falling apart. Not completely, but they fell apart, right? They fell apart. So that is one question that I have. In the head-to-head, again, SMU beat common opponents worse than Clemson did. So you have to consider that. So I don't see a game against an elite team. But in the common opponents, you definitely took care of business. So let's talk a little bit about my thoughts of the game. This is not my official preview, by the way. I just want to say that this is not my official preview. I was just looking at the comment section. You see, it just blanked me. But here's what I'll say. And here's what I think we need to consider as Clemson fans. Clemson has a history of playing in the ACC championship game. Clemson is closer to Charlotte, North Carolina by a long shot. So there's going to be a lot of orange and white in the stadium. Clemson literally just came off of a game that, yes, they lost, and I'm sick over it, but they just played a quarterback that was shedding tackles by 6'2", 315-pound Peter Woods. Peter Woods don't miss tackles. He doesn't miss a tackle. TJ Parker, he doesn't miss tackles. Lenoris Sellers just shed 2 of those guys in the same play. How could this help Clemson versus playing against Jennings? Jennings is shifty. Jennings can throw. Jennings is athletic. He's not that big. If you get your hands on him, 6 feet tall, 190, 195 pounds versus 6'3", 240 plus, and can run, has thighs like a telephone pole, that is different. So if they contain him and they set a spy on him just to ensure he doesn't take off, that would be a great way for Clemson to guard him and to neutralize his ability mobily. I think Clemson goes 4 down linemen against him. I'm not liking I'm not liking what we saw with the nickel package. 4 linebackers. We need to see the 4 down linemen and the 3 linebackers out there. I don't know why we took Sammy Brown off this past week. I know they said, well, we went to a nickel. Again, I don't know why they took him off. Sammy was tracking people down. He was actually making tackles. He was barely missing a tackle, okay? I don't care if he is a true freshman. He needs to play in this game, and he needs to see significant time. Their rush defense is coming for us, but their pass defense, let's go back in here and let's look at the numbers. And this is how I would attack them. They're number 85 in passing yards allowed. Listen, you saw what those 2 true freshmen did to South Carolina's defense. South Carolina's pass defense. I would look at that number 85 passing yards allowed, and I would think back to how Matt Luke had our offensive line that was basically in wheelchairs right before the game. I mean, South Carolina was supposed to eat them alive. I was just waiting for any moment it was going to happen. Matt Luke, that's what happens when you hire an elite coach who is an expert at the position that they coach. He gets the most out of the least. So he protected Cade. And I know we got the ball out of our hands quick here and there, but I'm telling you, folks, they did protect Cade. So between scheme of the play calling and between his technique and working with his guys, they protected Cade. I would go after this secondary that's number 85 in passing yards allowed. I would go after them, and I would go after them hard. I would throw the ball downfield. I'm talking about downfield. Let your 6'3" wide receiver go up and get it. Let your 6'1", 6'2" wide receiver go up and get it. These freshmen, if you're a big-time wide receiver, you come to a school to show off that you are the man, and in turn, you get to go to the NFL and make a lot of money. So when you look at Bryant Wesco, and you look at T.J. Moore, who is 6'3", I said 6'1" or 6'2", he's 6'3" as well. You look at him, you look at Bryant Wesco, who is 6'2". You take those 2 guys and you put them out on the field, stretch the field, then you throw in our leading wide receiver underneath, Antonio Williams. You throw him underneath. He's our leading wide receiver, 788 in the air in 10 touchdowns. I believe that is the that's the game plan if you want to beat SMU and not let them hang around. On the defensive side of the ball, spy this guy, hit him, no cheap shots, but hit him hard. None of this missed tackled crap. And our DBs have to become more physical. Now, in this game this past week, they did a pretty good job against South Carolina. They did a pretty good job against the Gamecocks. So that's the game plan that I would go with against SMU. SMU is they're hungry, and if you find a team that is hungry, and you find a coach who is younger, but this is his first head coaching job, and he's in year 3. And last year he won 10 or 11 games. This year he has you in the conference championship. Rhett Lashlee is trying to make a name for himself. I don't doubt that he cares about his team. That's not what I'm saying. I'm telling you, hungry coaches like Rhett Lashlee, Shane Beamer is a very hungry coach. He wants to do something special. These guys are going to call the plays that are there, and if your defense is giving it to them, they're going to take it. If your offense is not exploiting them, they're going to contain you. So that's what I would do against them. Again, this is not my official prediction, but SMU is going to be a handful. But the big thing that Clemson has playing in its favor, even though Clemson's a 2.5-point underdog, the big thing that Clemson has playing in its favor, in its favor, sitting in its side of the corner of the ring, is that Clemson has been here before. Cade Klubnik has been here before. Like, he knows what it's like. In fact, he was thrown in an even worse situation. Replacing DJ, the whole emotional mindset that was there, that whole thing that went on, that was crazy too. Crazy. And he went in and beat Drake May and the North Carolina Tar Heels. He did a really good job. That's what we need to see in this ball game, and we need to lean into that. Well, folks, tell me what you think. I got a bunch of you in here. I hope you've subscribed. Remember, I've been talking about, I know I'm talking about it a lot, but a lot of you have started to answer the call. It got me over 6,000 subscribers in just like no time. If almost all of you subscribed, I would have, I don't know, 20, 30, 40,000 subscribers right now. So if you like an independent who calls it as he sees it, if you like that sort of thing, even if you don't agree with me, but you're like, hey, I like that he speaks with some passion. If that's your sort of thing, I hope you'll subscribe. I do appreciate it. Let me get into the comment section one last time. I'm going to make this very fast. I want you in here. WB2DX, Clemson has not earned anything. Clemson got lucky. That's all I'm going to say. Nick Couch, if the USUC game is played 10 times, we win 5 of them, in my opinion. We put together an 8 out of 10 performance, nearly beat the hottest team in the country. I think Clemson, certain parts of Clemson's game plan actually went quite well. I just wish they would have continued to attack downfield, and I think the game would have been a little different. But you got to tackle. You have to tackle. You have to tackle. SMU going to win the ACC from Travis. Cosmic takes. Clemson dropped out of the top 25 for recruiting in 2025. Any thoughts? Yeah, I know you're irritated. That'll be a longer video. I'm going to have to get into that on another day, but trust me, there's a lot of thoughts there. Oregon 1, Georgia 2, Clemson 3, and Arizona State. Huh. Okay, James Carter's calling it. Big Georgia fan. Good to see you. Koozie, $9.99. Third time is the charm, right? On another note, I think we'll have the size advantage Saturday. Not convinced this SMU team is what they are made out to be. Koozie, thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you. $10. That's nice. Good grief. You must have made some money off one of those scratch offs, didn't you? I know, and I appreciate you sharing it with me. Thank you so much, my friend. Yeah, size advantage is going to be big. To me, we just got to utilize what we have, and we'll be fine. If we utilize what we have at Clemson, we wouldn't have 2 of the 3 losses. I about guarantee you. But anyway, SMU has been telling their students and players that Clemson and FSU filed a lawsuit because they didn't want SMU in the ACC. Huh. I haven't heard that, but hey, I trust you, Dale. Dale, thanks for supporting on a monthly basis. I see that symbol beside your name. I appreciate it. Who is Clemson backing their way into a championship game? Halo Master 96 coming in strong. Hey, I've talked about that. You know, I've talked about that. The real McCoy taking an L Saturday night. Dabo better make the changes. A lot of people are feeling that way. You're not alone. That choir of voices saying that there has to be good changes, not just any change. Let's talk about change just for a second. Y'all stick with me, and I'm going to try to end this in just a second. But, you know, like, you'll hear people go, you know, we need change. Okay, is change truly needed? In this situation, yes. But other people, they'll go out and they're like, you know what? I just need to change my hairstyle because I need something different. And they go out and they style it with a blowtorch. Well, yeah, that's different, but it looks awful. We don't need that type of change. We need good, solid change. Good, solid change. And, you know, as the recruiting classes seem to continue to struggle after especially that decommitment, we need to understand something. The talent level at Clemson will do this. So it's just you know, I understand exactly what you're saying, but there's more and more people calling for change that just 4 weeks ago, right before that Louisville game, was telling me, hey, listen, everything's fine. And now they're realizing it's not fine. So anyway, y'all take care of yourself. Hope you've subscribed. I will be doing a video maybe released today or tomorrow with TJ over at College Football Addiction. Also, he has the channel Double Fries No Slaw, the big Florida State channel he has over there. Everybody knows TJ. TJ's the man. But I'm going to be on his channel at 1 o'clock. it's going to be pre-recorded, so it won't be live, but be looking for that and let him know you heard about it from me. Y'all take care of yourself. If you haven't subscribed, I just throwing it out there. Remember, it's free. If you like what I do appreciate it. As always, go